Hello everyone, and welcome back to our series on using Google Forms. So in the first video we talked about how to access forms, how to name forms. So right now I really want to focus on some of the menu options that are available to you. So we're going to focus mostly on this video in this upper area right here of Google Forms, okay? We're not going to go beyond that. We'll talk about questions and responses, and we talk about form design in a later video, okay? So we've already talked about right here is where you name a form. This folder is certainly how to organize your forms, so place them in various folders of your Google Drive. And the star one is to add them to your starred locations on Drive so you can access those forms quickly at a later date. Now, over here we have add-ons. Now we're going to talk about add-ons actually in a more advanced course that we'll offer later. But right now, just to kind of give you a sneak peek, add-ons allow you to basically add different tools to forms that are available that you can kind of search through, which is really kind of nice. So we'll look at that a little bit later, that you can actually add better tools to this and make it more customizable to your own user experience. This is kind of a neat, the color palette. Right now it's kind of this bluish sort of violet color. You can change the colors as you wish. Sorry about that, didn't want to do that. And you can change the colors, but you can also add pictures and themes, which is really kind of nice to make it look even more visually appealing. And I click on this, and now you have a lot of themes up here. So you have work and school themes that might look kind of neat for a form. If you're making a certain type of form that might fit the style what you're doing. They have different categories like illustrations, which is really kind of neat. Birthday, if you're sending out an invitation. That's even an animated one, which is really kind of nice. Food and dining, night out, travel, which is kind of neat. All right, I like this one right now. That makes me think of let's just look how this one looks. All right, it's going to look great in a moment. So there's your form. Maybe you're planning a vacation for the family or whatever you're doing, or maybe a corporate getaway, which is always, I'm sure, a lot of fun. So there we go. And other themes that you have that you can sort of customize your form as you like, which is really kind of nice. But you can also upload photos from your Google. This is your album if you're using Google Photos, but right here you can get them right from your computer, your Chromebook, or your PC. But they must be at least 800 by 200 pixels, so be careful of your sizing. But if you want to add a custom icon, a custom logo, a school icon, a business icon, a group photo, something like that, you can also do that, and that will be the background of your form in this header area, which is kind of nice. It just gives a little more of a personal touch. Now, this is the preview. Now, we don't have much of our form right now, but if I did hit preview, it would give you what it would actually look like in terms of from the user experience. Obviously, you don't have anything here yet, but it's always nice to see what your form actually looks like when you send it out live. So that's a nice little feature. The settings is kind of nice. It's a really useful tool to understand what you can do here. Now, in general, collect email addresses. Now, this means that when your user, the participant who takes part of your poll or your survey, it will actually ask that individual to put in an email address. Okay. Now, response receipt means that it will also give the recipient a receipt when they completed the poll or the survey, so it's a record that they actually completed it. And they can also go back and view their responses. That's kind of nice. You can see that would give them sort of a validation that they completed it. That could be great in a work setting, certainly. That can be great in a customer setting. That can be great in a student setting to have that ability to know that I actually filled this out. And here's what I actually did. You can limit to one response per the email collected, okay, which is nice. Respondents can edit after they submit, or they can see a summary chart and text responses, which is kind of nice. They can do a little bit of a text response to the poll after it's over, which is really, again, useful. All right. Also, you have presentation. This is how the poll will be perceived by them, or the survey. You can have a progress bar, which will give them a status of how many questions are left. You can shuffle the question order. This is nice if you're using it especially for education purposes, and a quiz function, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And you can show a link to submit another response. If they want to actually go ahead and do it again. And This is also the confirmation. The default is your response has been recorded, but you can add another message there if you like. That would be a little more personal after they have completed the form. Okay. Now, the quizzing function is kind of fun for education purposes or for any kind of feedback you want to give. You want to kind of do it at kind of an assessment. It doesn't have to be only education. So they could be in a business world. You're assessing something. So you can make this form a quiz. All right. Now, basically, you will release the grade of it right after they submit it, or later on after you reviewed it, then you would basically make that grade available. Respondents can now have some choices here. Missed questions. You can identify exactly which questions were answered incorrectly right away. This will show them the correct answers and the point value. Now, again, if this is a real assessment, you might not want to have them see the correct answers right away, not to share them with other people. But it's a nice way to do a little bit of a check of understanding to do this in a polling area. So you got to make sure you turn that polling on to make it a quiz, which is really, again, very useful. So those are our settings, okay? The three little dots here, a little more undo. You can make a copy of this form, right? You want to maybe make a different version. You can make a copy of it and then just change the copy. You can move it to trash. A pre-filled link is interesting, but I will show you that later when we actually have a form that we're going to be working with. You want to print the form for a paper copy. And we'll talk about sharing a little bit later. And add-ons is certainly more of the advanced feature, which gives you now a lot of, this is again a preview of other tools you can add to this form, which we'll talk about later in more of an advanced session on add-ons, which is really useful. Okay, and then your preferences. Basically, if you want this to be your default setting to always collect email addresses, to always make it default quiz point value is 0, you can make you can change the default quiz point value to 1 or 2 or 5, which is really useful in the quizzing. And make questions required means that when you have that on, any question that you make will be a required question, meaning that a person, a student, a client, an individual will have to answer that question. They cannot skip that question in your form. So you can make those decisions later. Okay, so those are your basic functions of how you set up your form and the choices that you have in terms of some of the designing of it, in terms of the themes, but more importantly in terms of the settings of how questions will appear and how individuals can respond. Okay, so I hope that was a helpful video, and I'm looking forward to sharing some more about forms soon. All right, take care. Bye-bye.